to Walking on the Weene Side, part of It Matters Radio. And today I have August Cruz with me, and August wrote this book, Stalker. And August, the first thing I've got to ask you about is the cover of this book. You went with a most striking cover design. How did you happen to decide to do that? I mean, most people are busy coming up with graphics. You've come up with black. What with white letters? Huh?
As you can see, just even by my T-shirt, black is my favorite color. It's usually what I go with. But I felt it's something. I thought the contrast was good with the black cover and the white lettering. Mm-hmm. It's right in your face. It stands out. And that's essentially just why I did it, because the stalker in the story is hidden in the darkness and black until he finally is right in her face at the end.
Mm. Yeah, I wondered if, in a sense, it doesn't really represent the whole stalking phenomenon, where often it is, and of course he is looking for the shadows. One of the themes that runs through the book is finding the shadows.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting notion. Now, you're younger than I am, and you probably don't remember the shadow.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. But what do shadows mean to you?
It's a way to keep things hidden. It's a way to if you use the shadows properly, it's a way to obtain information, in his case, in the stalker's case. Mm-hmm. A way to be amongst the crowd, but at the same time, you're not amongst the crowd. You're hidden.
Mm-hmm. But that is even his nature, even when he's in the light. I mean, when he's at work, one of the things about him is that he is so not present. He trying so hard to be not present. What motivates that, do you think, in this character, Everest? I should mention his name. So,
I think it's why some people do it. I think because they hide, or they just don't feel comfortable in social situations. Everest is the type of character that doesn't really feel comfortable in social situations. He had a really rough background, as you read, a rough childhood. So he doesn't really know how to interact. He's very socially awkward. And that's why he prefers kind of the anonymity of things and the darkness of things to stay hidden. He lives alone in a very small apartment in a nondescript part of New York. So yeah, it's in his character, it's in his nature.
And yet, in some ways, he is kind of social in that he gravitates to people who are kind of pathetic losers. The old lady with her dog.
Yeah, Hilda. She's probably the only one who. There are very few people that relate to him or that socialize with, that he socializes with, and the two characters in the book that he does socialize with are people that are very they're very non-threatening. They're not big personalities, quote unquote big personalities, and so he, and the other one is a dog. I mean, it's somebody who can't, reject him or criticize him. So I think that's probably why.
And yet he does come into contact with at least one character who is very much present. And I'm not talking about the girl here now. I'm talking about his, quote, friend from high school.
Yeah, Steve, yeah.
Yeah, and he is able to interact with this guy, and yet he finds it painful.
Yeah, because Steve has everything that he does. On the surface, Steve has, a great home life. He's a successful guy. He has a home. He has a wife. So he has all those things that he would like, but he doesn't know how the right way to go about getting them.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that's fascinating about, because we don't want to do too many spoilers here, and so I'm trying to just tread lightly. But one of the fascinating things about Everest as a character is his job.
Yeah, customer service. So you have somebody who doesn't like to socialize with people, but he's in a job where he has to talk to people all day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's the contrast.
Mm-hmm. And the people he's talking to are people who are complaining to him.
Constantly. Yeah. Yeah, they have nothing else to do but to call up and say, oh, the water in the water fountain isn't cold enough, or I object to this in your stores and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, one
People
of the
who don't appreciate what all the stuff that they have, and they take it for granted.
yeah, but one of the things is he's working for a bookstore chain,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things people call up about are the books.
Yeah.
How can you put this horrible pornography, which, to you or me might seem like perfectly normal, like maybe a Playboy magazine. But
Right.
how can you put this horrible pornography and God is going to get you?
Oh yeah.
And I was wondering what you think the calls that Everest might receive if Stalker were on the shelves, or maybe by the checkout counter, as people are coming out of the bookstore.
Yeah, they would probably object to it, saying, "Oh my God, this promotes, criminal behavior, and this is something that people, should shy away from because it promotes violence and anger, even though there's really not a lot of violence in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a sex scene in there, and I mean, believe me, people would find all those things objectionable, and they would call to complain about, oh, how can you sell this book? This is horrible. This is promoting criminal activity.
It's interesting you're using the word criminal activity. Now,
because stalking is a crime.
Yeah, but my background is in mental health, and so my feeling is that they would call say it's glorifying mental illness.
Well, that probably, yeah, sure.
But yeah, so how would you respond to that?
I honestly, if people were to say something like that, I'd say, well, it's not. It's a fiction. It's for entertainment purposes. It's the same reason why people tune into Law and Order or CSI and all those other programs on TV. That's why people go to the movies to see movies like Fatal Attraction, movies like Obsessed. I mean, it's again for entertainment purposes. It's not a how-to manual.
No, it isn't a how-to manual. As a matter of fact, I would say he was rather inept at his stalking.
Sure, exactly.
But I would ask you, did you not have any message that you were trying to incorporate in this book?
Sure.
Beyond entertainment, hey, it's fun. Watch this screwed up guy. I mean, was there something else you wanted the world to learn from reading Stalker?
Oh, absolutely. It's a way also to bring awareness of a very serious crime. 7.5 million people are stalked in the U.S. alone, and that's according to the National Center for Victims of Crime. 61% of women and 44% of males are stalked by people, either current or former lovers. It's a serious situation. People who have experienced that know that it's not as simple as just not paying attention to them, not talking to them, or hanging up the phone, or not answering their texts. It goes beyond that, because when doing research for the book, I came across, so aside from the celebrities that have been stalked, average citizens who are not in the limelight or not in the spotlight go through this. I found footage of people who were stalking, and it's actually on YouTube, where there was a guy who was stalking his neighbor, and there's actually footage of him filming her apartment from the outside through the window. So it's definitely a cautionary story. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of how people are interacting with you. And there are resources to go to if you're experiencing that type of activity, if you're experiencing that type of thing. And again, it's a story that, yes, it's for entertainment purposes, but the message would be that this is something serious, and it is something that happens, unfortunately, on a daily basis. And that's, again, those figures are just from the U.S. This happens internationally. Stalking is not restricted to the U.S. alone.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side. We're talking with August Cruz, author of Stalker, and we were just talking about how common stalking is. Now, you've done a lot of research. Your background is a teacher, an English teacher. You're neither a stalker nor a policeman nor a mental health professional, but you did do a lot of research about this. So, what do you think it is that produces stalking? First of all, what makes a stalker?
Well, a stalker is somebody who consistently reaches out for contact with somebody who would rather not be in contact with, or would rather not be contacted by the person. Emails, phone calls, showing up at work, showing up unexpectedly at your home, going to places where you are, following you, taking pictures of you, surveillance. Normally, it's the percentages are that it's most likely somebody that you've already been intimate with, and just doesn't know how to deal or handle that rejection. Mm-hmm. There are cases of people who have not been intimate with somebody, and yet that person does become infatuated. Right, exactly. They do become infatuated with them. And so why that happens, there are a variety of reasons. That the stalker feels like there's something missing in their life. They feel like they were meant to be together. Oftentimes with celebrity stalkers, you have that situation. There was a case of, I don't know if you remember the show, it was very short-lived. It was called My Sister Sam, with Pam Dauber and Rebecca Schaefer.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that was back in the 80s. There was this guy who became infatuated with Rebecca Schaefer. She was a very young, very talented and beautiful actress on the show. It was her first big break. And he felt like they were meant to be together. And so he tracked her down to Los Angeles, and through a private detective found out where she lived. And when when he showed up to her apartment, long story short, he wound up shooting her, and she died. That's why they changed certain laws about private detectives being able to give out people's addresses and locations. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, you have the more, when David Hinckley shot President Reagan because he wanted to do it for Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm.
So you have cases where people don't even know the person, and yet they feel like they were meant to be together. That they built up this fantasy in their mind, and the only way they can do it is by aggressively pursuing it. That's why it becomes, and that's where it becomes a stalking situation.
So, what we're talking about here are people who have this sense of inevitability.
Oh yeah,
and of course that's something you capture very well about Everest. It is inevitable that he and we're going to be together.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the tagline in the back. You know, she the minute I saw her, I knew she was the one. You know, she had to be. She better be.
Mm-hmm.
It's that sense of it has to happen.
Yeah. Now, the minute he saw her, that was where?
That was on the train. He saw her, and she, aside from just being an attractive woman, he also saw her give a homeless man some food. And that, in a world where he's constantly getting complaints from people over trivial things, he lives in the projects, he's surrounded by grime and the ugliness of humanity, he sees her do one of the most, kind gestures that he's seen in a long time. And that just instantly sparks his interest. And so he needs to find out more about her, and that's why he goes on this, down this path, incorrectly, not in a good way, but yeah.
But that I think you just hit on something I liked about your book. As crazy as Everest obviously is,
oh yeah,
there is something that resonates with him when he sees this kindness. He even tries at one point to emulate it, albeit for the wrong reasons. But
right.
There is a sense of kindness as he interacts with people, and there is this sense of hunger that he has. Hunger for human contact, but also hunger for something more than just human contact.
Yeah, something kind, goodness, hope, even. A sign that tells him that the world is not made up of complaints. It's not made up of the crime. I mean, he lives in a building where there's a prostitute on the first floor. Mm-hmm. So he's all he sees is ugliness. The only things that are not like that is his association with Hilda, with the older lady in the building and her dog. Mm-hmm. So
the prostitute he lives near is not a bad person, though.
No, she's not a bad person, but when he walks in one day, he sees a gang of kids waiting to take their turn with her. Mm-hmm. So even though she's not a bad person, she's still attracting that element. The
greediness.
Yeah, absolutely. The lust, the all that.
Yeah,
absolutely. It detracts from, or it's in direct contrast to the purity that he sees her with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As I see it, you are taking the subway. Of course, is such a wonderful, and that's the train we're talking about. We're talking about the subway.
Yeah,
and it really represents, in a lot of ways, it's a symbol, the id.
Sure.
And the potential nastiness of brutality of human beings, but also the desire. And, the id is not all bad. I mean, there's a part that you want to connect to somebody. And he's trying in some way, and I think this is one of the interesting things, is he's almost on a divine mission.
Sure, yeah. No, in his mind he is. Mm. In his mind he is. He's on a divine mission. He's on, you could even use the subway to show that he's on a certain path, and it's an express path to where she is. It's leading him to her. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now, do you think that have you ever met a stalker?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And interviewed them and gotten to know them a little?
I've spoken to them, yeah. I've spoken to psychologists about it. I've spoken to sergeants. I don't know if you want to call it a stalker, but I did have somebody who was for a while, just incessantly contacting me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've even been stalked a little bit.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me about the book and my own experience dealing with stalking is, and I thought wanted to ask you about this. Everest takes. He ends up in her apartment and takes trophy.
Yes.
Nothing big. Oh my God, I wouldn't steal anything of great value.
Right.
And of course, there's the voyeuristic. He's taking photographs, things like that. But he never leaves. He never gives.
No, he's not capable of that. He takes because he needs. There's a part of him that he's trying to fulfill this longing. He has this hole in his life that he's trying to fill. You also have to. I'm not saying that what he did was right. It's not. But he had a really rough childhood. The one person that all kids depend on is their mother, and he didn't have that. As a matter of fact, without giving too much away, she left him at a very young age, and in a situation where he also didn't have a father. And when she was in his life, she also wasn't, because she was an alcoholic. And so his background is not very good, and so he's never had that. And then when he sees this woman, and he starts to believe that that's his destiny, he tries to do everything possible to fulfill that and to make that happen. So yeah, he does take mementos in his mind.
But I do think, and I will say this was my one as a psychologist critique, negative critique, as opposed to lots of positive ones about the book, is that my experience is usually stalkers leave things. Now, the things they leave, it's kind of like a pack rat.
Yeah.
They leave things that to them have taken on significance. For example, this is the napkin that I used when I was at the table at the coffee shop watching him.
Right.
No.
But in the way that he sees it, he knows, and most, if not all stalkers, there's a part of them that know that what they're doing is wrong. And so he's at the level where he understands that there's a part of him that knows that he shouldn't be in her apartment. He shouldn't be following her. He shouldn't be taking pictures. And quite frankly, the way that he's looking at it, I have it really good now, because she doesn't know that I'm around, so I can take her picture. I can break into her apartment. I can do this. I can do that. If she finds out, then the window will be locked. It'll be that much harder to see her. It'll be that much harder to take a picture, because she'll be aware. So why give that up in his mind? The way that he sees it is, well, right now, I have it good, because I can print those pictures of her and put them up on my wall. I can follow her. I can get into her apartment easily. If she knows that what I'm doing, all that is taken away from me, and then he's left back to where he was before he even knew her.
We'll be right back, folks. welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side. I'm talking with author August Cruz about his book Stalker, which raises some very powerful questions. I just wanted to follow up a little bit on what we were talking about. That you see Everest as, I guess, he's not quite totally into the madness. He's able still to exercise some ego.
Yeah.
The next step, if nothing untoward happens, is madness, where he cannot keep himself concealed, where he has to step out. And I'm not going to tell folks whether that happens or not, because I want them to read Stalker. So where can they buy this? What's the best way to get it?
The best way to get a hold of it is through Amazon. It's available on Amazon.com. It's also available on Kindle. If you punch up August Cruz or Stalker by August Cruz, it'll come right up. It's gotten some really good reviews so far, so I'm hoping people will continue to read it and like it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those two, Amazon and Kindle, are the best way to find it.
By the way, folks, if you do like a book, one of the best things you can do is tell other people. And one of the easiest ways to tell other people is to write a review and leave it on a site like Kindle, like Amazon, like Barnes & Noble, like Goodreads, and more than one place, please, because authors, whether it's August or myself or whoever, we need to have the word get out. Okay, now how, if people wanted to contact you or get to know more about you personally, or not stalk you, but
I hope not, no.
But where are you okay?
Right now I'm in the middle of building a web page. I do have an Instagram account and I have a Facebook account. Again, it's all under August Cruz.
Mm-hmm. So just look for August Cruz, C-R-U-Z,
right?
And he's there, and you can follow his Facebook page and learn more about. Now, are you working on any new books, August?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on a kind of a pseudo sequel to Stalker. This new one is about a female stalker, so it's a different take.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, stalking is not gender specific. It goes both ways. And so this one's about a female stalker who learns about Everest and takes his example as something that inspires her to stalk a former boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and she learns something about Everest that triggers her.
Oh yeah. She works at a law firm and in the records department of a law firm, and the firm is representing another criminal stalking case, and they ask for the record of mm-hmm. Everest's case, and she reads into it and says, "Wow, if somebody could love somebody that much, where they, pursue them to that mm-hmm. point, that's inspiring." And then she starts remembering her first boyfriend, and with the advent of the internet, it becomes that much easier to stalk people now, and she does it on a much more high-tech level than Everest did.
It's very interesting because one of the things that we as a society value very highly is love. Love is something, we put love on a pedestal.
Yes, we do.
As opposed to, for example, arranged marriages or things like that. I mean, we expect to fall in love, to have mm-hmm. this great emotional, romantic attachment. We trace it back to the knights and chivalry and all that wonderful stuff. We all think that we're going to be Lancelot and Guinevere or whatever.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that one of the things we value as society is privacy. But
love. We're all about love, and especially when we write books, love is such a constant theme.
Sure.
But when does love turn to possessiveness and even to madness? I think that's a question we need to explore. And I have to thank you, August Cruz, for providing us with a book, Stalker, that will actually help people start thinking about that question. So, folks, behind this plain black cover with its stark white writing font, you're going to be finding yourself asking questions and thinking, hopefully, about the nature of love, the nature of madness, and when does one cross into the other. And so look for it, and look for August Cruz, because I have a feeling he's going to be writing some more good books.
Thank you, I hope so.
And August, thank you so much for walking on the Weene side.
Thank you for having me, I appreciate it.
Memoirs from the Asylum by Kenneth Weene, a novel of emotion, madness, life, and the search for freedom. The nurse with the black hair and the bloodshot eyes had propped Marilyn up that morning. She'd coaxed a few spoons of oatmeal or cream of wheat or whatever down her throat. Marilyn likes to watch the black-haired nurse with the bloodshot eyes feed her. She's so dexterous with the napkin. The drools and dribbles are wiped away before they can stain her bedclothes. It isn't easy being a schizophrenic. It takes effort to stay hidden. If she makes a mistake, even a little one, she will be found out. See how careful the mouse is to stay still? He hopes the cat won't see him hiding there, but if she sees him, he'll jump back inside the hole where she can't follow him. But the cat did catch the mouse. She had seen her eating him, throwing him up and down in the air like a little ball until, tired with her game, she snapped his body apart. The mouse should never have come out of his hole, Marilyn thinks. He should have stayed in there, except when it was rainy or snowy or cloudy or night, or not sunny anyway. That is the best thing of all. It always is. She wonders if she could make a sign warning cats to stay away. Can cats read? That is a question worth pondering. Some of us land in the morgue. Some of us land in the asylum. And some of us build our own asylums. It's all the same. It is, in the end, all the same. Memoirs from the Asylum is available in print and Kindle from Amazon.com.